What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and we've got a pretty big update. Electronic Arts, as well as Activision stocks, huge plummets on Thursday and Friday of last week, and Warcraft 3, Blizzard finally has to cave and is now offering instant refunds. So now remember, they were banning people for helping others on how to get refunds, so it sure would be a shame if you left a like on this video and a comment on this video. Now, I want to point out that credit where credit is due. I don't want to just dance in the streets or dunk on Blizzard too much, because look, on one side of things, we have to acknowledge that Warcraft 3 was a disaster, which we're going to do in this video because that's the fun part. But you've also got to acknowledge that whether they wanted to or not, I don't know, they are doing the right thing finally, after public pressure. So, participation trophy, half credit. I mean, they did have a refund policy in place, but it was a PR disaster that they were banning people for helping others on how to actually get refunds. Now, a quick look in on now the worst rated PC game ever, I believe, on Metacritic. Now, at least tied or sinking below day one Gary's incident, it now remains at a 0.5 on Metacritic with 22,276 ratings. And to be honest with you, as critic reviews roll in, it's only at a 61. If you want to look at, we're basically one bad critic review away from a 50s, from an actual F. I wanted to pull up actually why I didn't think of this until just now, but maybe Warcraft 3 just as a litmus test to see if it's on here. Yeah, it was originally, let's see the original, 92 with a 9.2 critic score. That's one heck of a before and after. You go from a 9.2 game with a 92 Metacritic must-play score all the way down to a 0.5, and all you had to do was improve it. That's the net of this. 9.2 down to 5.5, sorry, and 92 down to, 61. Disastrous. But now, after immense pressure, Warcraft 3 Reforged has the lowest user score for a Metacritic game, and you can see Blizzard is finally caving to the brutal Warcraft 3 Reforged backlash. After weathering a disastrous Warcraft 3 launch, Blizzard Entertainment has reportedly simplified the refund process. Blizzard is reportedly issuing instant, no questions asked refunds for Warcraft 3. After releasing last week, the remake of the classic RTS title suffered a wave of criticism from players. Bugs, missing features, and downgraded graphics were among the chief complaints. News that Blizzard, laying claim to any and all player-created Warcraft 3 Reforged custom games as per the user agreement, only added to the discontent. To further exacerbate the situation, Blizzard reportedly banned official forum users looking to obtain refunds. Blizzard, however, now is reportedly issuing instant Warcraft 3 Reforged refunds. Warcraft 3 Reforged refunds. Reports on the Reddit suggest Blizzard has now relented somewhat and streamlined the refund process. Some players highlighted a frustrating manual approve process, Reddit blocking previous attempts to obtain refunds. Others were flatly denied refunds despite perceived breaches of consumer law. One Reddit user, quote, put out and said, I think word should go out to everyone, everywhere. Blizzard is giving out automatic refunds for Warcraft 3 Reforged now. I pre-ordered the game in December 2018, played a bit through the beta, like 10 to 15 hours, and after release, I also played 5+ hours. I refunded the game after a few minutes ago, within 1 minute automatically. So, listen, if you purchased Warcraft 3 Reforged, please hear me out. I know that I have a bias against, Blizzard's decision-making lately. I still hold games like the original World of Warcraft near and dear to my heart. I wasn't much of a Warcraft guy, although now seeing how highly Warcraft 3, the original, reviewed, I'd like to play it, except the upgrade ruined the experience for original players. I acknowledge my bias there, okay? But if you can see past that and understand why it's important that even if you're only moderately displeased with the game, you've got to refund it today, all right? You need to send the message. Look, taking a refund today does not exclude you from purchasing the game once they put out a finished product that is good. And I have no problem with people supporting projects that have been fixed. What I have a problem with is letting them keep your money for months on end until they finally maybe deliver. We can take a look at Fallout 76 as an example, which we're still waiting for kind of a complete game years later. There are examples of games that can make a comeback. But what I don't want is people to let Blizzard keep their money because they'll never learn. You could look at Anthem, for example. A disastrous launch, a disastrous build-up period, a disastrous development period, a disastrous content rollout. Their Cataclysm event was a hilarious failure. Still, people kept playing their game. You've got to make a statement and refund it. Come back, refund it, and come back and buy it again in April if they fix it, you know? Players can now reportedly obtain automatic refunds for Warcraft 3 Reforged by citing, quote, technical issues via Blizzard support. The steps are seemingly working for disgruntled players. Here's several people. Tried this last night, worked like a charm. I'll be darned, worked, no issues. Great, works like a charm. For Blizzard's apparent change of heart, many are pointing towards rumblings among the community of false advertising and even calls them on a class action lawsuit on the Blizzard forums. The widespreading sharing of refund templates citing country-specific consumer rights on Blizzard forums is also understood to have played a part. Automatic refunds undoubtedly alleviate the disappointment of some, yet Warcraft 3 Reforged remains in dire state. Now, if you look at, though, the day, there may have been other issues, but if you look at the day this game came out, now if we look at, for example, 6 months for Activision Blizzard, it's been on a pretty steady rise. Most of this fueled by the success of WoW Classic, I'm guessing. All right. If we look at 1 month, though, it's a little harder to draw a trend. But if we look at what happened on the day they released it, here's Thursday, January 30th, a giant plunge. And as of Friday, end of day, currently afternoon Monday, it hasn't made any gains. In fact, it's down for the day. We also could look at Electronic Arts over that same period on the same day, Thursday, January 30th, a solid plunge here, a little bit of give back, but then eventually yielding another loss. So something's going on in the video games industry. There are other things playing factors in here, of course, and there are things like a new agreement for Activision in terms of streaming service. You know, you've got articles, Activision Blizzard benefits from the Google Cloud partnership. A lot of the pundits and investors are out there talking about how the stock is set to come back. But this is a pretty significant drop in a stock that, for the most part, has been on a steady rise over the last year. You're talking about, by the way, probably hundreds of millions or maybe billions in lost revenue when you see a stock go down from, just a few dollars when you're talking about the entire market size. Again, with Electronic Arts, maybe this is just a broader, pushback in the video game market, but this is definitely significant. You can see EA financial report hints at online play in some future Sims titles. They've got good things coming out for investors, but we look at Warcraft 3, we look at what Blizzard did here and the consumer reaction. It's so sad that this essentially completely erases all of the goodwill that they had with gamers who didn't care about the Hong Kong stuff in terms of WoW Classic, and now it's just back to another disastrous Blizzard release. We can see Screen Rant Blizzard now offering instant refunds on Warcraft 3. The launch of Warcraft 3 Reforged was such a disaster that players revolted, and now Blizzard, which has released no statement on the game, is offering instant refunds for the remastered Classic. The game, which has the lowest rating of any video game in history, launched into an excited crowd of fans. Players eagerly bought copies, expecting to enjoy an enhanced experience. Unfortunately, what they found when they began playing was what can only be described as a complete mess. Blizzard, I don't know exactly what's happened to you, but it's clear that the passion and the heart are gone. A lot of people will try to point to the relationship, being, part of Activision, but I would point more towards people that truly cared about quality control and really cared about the community exiting the company and moving on and not being replaced, essentially being replaced, Blizzard old guard being replaced by a lot of these corporate money first, people second type folks. And I've got to admit, it's pretty sad. I feel bad for the Blizzard community, and it's shocking that they could have screwed up this poorly with all that they could have learned from the WoW Classic success. Just another huge embarrassment for Blizzard, Activision, gamers in general. I'd say I hope they learn from their mistakes, but Lord knows they won't. And now things have gotten even better as the hilarious Warcraft 3 Refunded.com launched, just like we saw with the $100 premium Fallout 76 subscription scam. You see Warcraft 3 Refunded, broken, dishonest, anti-consumer, glorified remaster, broken promises. Warcraft 3 Reforged boasts an impressive number of fun and exciting features that were promised before being cut during development, and all of them are still being advertised at this moment. Campaign overhaul. A full campaign overhaul to bring the story and location in line with Warcraft lore as it stands today. Instead, it's the exact same campaign, but with new models. Improved cutscenes. Over 4 hours of new cutscenes with cinematic cameras, new voice acting, and more story. Psych! Same cutscenes, same voice acting, unchanged story. Player choice. Ability to choose between the old and new campaign, voice acting, user interface. F you, I'll take the old and you dang well better like it. Anti-consumer practices. No refunds. Have you spent time waiting in a multiplayer lobby? Tried out the campaign? Launched the game ever? Sucks to be you. Blizzard is denying an enormous amount of refund requests, sometimes in direct contravention of local law, on the basis that the customer has already, quote, played too much. Reforged only. Did you purchase Warcraft 3 on Battle.net? Did you expect to be able to play it in the future? Well, you can't, whether you bought it or not. Launching the Battle.net version of Warcraft 3 now sends you to the Reforged launcher. Blizzard is happy to keep the money you paid for Warcraft 3, though. Non-revamped cinematics. With Warcraft 3 Reforged, you can now watch the original cinematics from 2012 in their original quality, completely unchanged. And if you're interested, and if you were disappointed to see Blizzard adding more dynamic and interesting cutscenes, then worry not. They backed far, far away from that idea. But not before taking your pre-order based on what they originally showed. Custom map ownership. Clearly, Blizzard isn't risking another Dota getting away from them. Buried away in the Warcraft 3 Reforged terms of service is a clause that gives them total ownership of any custom map created by users, including moral rights. Definitely don't complain on social media. Congratulations to whoever put this together. By the way, a nice looking website. And definitely don't share this video on social media, or don't share this website either, because that would just be awful. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.